Last year, iSeeCars went through about 174 million vehicles to work out which ones actually reached 250,000 miles. Only 7 hybrids had enough road data to qualify for the list. Every single one of them wore a Toyota or a Lexus badge. Not one Honda. Not one Hyundai. That is not the whole story. And I will be fair to all 3 today. But it is a fair question to ask. So here is what we are doing. 10 checkpoints between your hybrid and 300,000 miles, and at each one I will tell you which brand walks through and which one pays. Stay to the end because after number 1 I will do the arithmetic on whether a hybrid that far gone is even worth fixing. Before we get going, subscribe. Every time one of these 3 files another hybrid recall with the federal safety people, I read the paperwork and put it here in plain English before the letter ever reaches your mailbox. Number 10. The brakes. This one is short because it is good news, and hybrids do not get enough credit for it. Every time you slow down, the electric motor spins backward and becomes a generator. It is doing most of your stopping. The pads barely touch the rotors. That is why it is normal to see original factory pads on a RAV4 hybrid at 70,000 to 100,000 miles, and why plenty of hybrids cross 150,000 on the brakes they left the factory with. Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, all 3. Same physics, same benefit. But here is the part the shop will not lead with. Brakes that never get hot never dry out. Surface rust starts building on the rear rotors somewhere past 40,000 miles, and the grease inside the caliper slide pins turns to paste. The pins seize. The pads drag. Your fuel economy drops, and you blame the battery. So the sentence to say at the counter is not, "Replace my pads." It is, "Pull the wheels, clean and lubricate the slide pins, and tell me what the pads actually measure." That is a small bill instead of a big one. And it is the same conversation whichever badge is on the hood. Number 9. The 12-volt battery. Your hybrid does not have a starter motor. There is no key turning a gear into a flywheel. What you have is a small, ordinary 12-volt battery whose entire job is to wake up the computers so the high-voltage system can take over. It is about the least glamorous part on the car, and it strands more hybrid owners than anything else on this list. Here is why it matters more than it sounds. When that little battery gets weak, the car does not politely crank slowly the way your old sedan did. It throws a dashboard full of warning lights, refuses to go into ready mode, and looks to a frightened owner standing in a parking lot, exactly like a dead hybrid battery. I have watched people get quoted 4 figures for what turned out to be a $200 part. On a RAV4 hybrid, these start weakening past 50,000 miles, sooner on cars that sit. And it is not covered by the hybrid battery warranty on any of the 3 brands, so nobody is in a hurry to warn you about it. Verdict on this checkpoint: dead even. Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai all use the same trick, and all inherit the same weak spot. Just know that the cheapest part on your hybrid does the best impersonation of the most expensive one. Number 8. What is actually between the engine and the wheels? Now stay with me, because this is the checkpoint that explains half the video, and all 3 companies solved the same problem 3 different ways. Toyota does not have a transmission. I know that sounds wrong. What Toyota has is a set of planetary gears with the engine on one part of it and 2 electric motors on the others, and the computer varies your speed by changing how fast those motors spin against each other. Forget the jargon and picture a sun with 2 planets going around it at different speeds. That is the whole device. No clutch packs, no belts, no torque converter, no band that can slip. The gears are meshed all the time and they never shift. That is why the word on the badge says the letters CVT, and why it has almost nothing in common with the belt and pulley units that gave that name a bad reputation. It is also why Prius taxis in big cities have gone past 500,000 miles on the original unit. Honda took a different road to a similar place, On the two-motor system, the gas engine spends most of its life generating electricity rather than driving the wheels, and there is one lockup clutch that connects it directly at highway speed. Fewer moving parts than a normal automatic. Not as few as Toyota. Hyundai went the opposite way on purpose. They kept a real 6-speed automatic and simply replaced the torque converter with an electric motor. On paper, that is the friendly answer. It shifts like a car you already understand, and any transmission shop in the country knows the unit. In practice, the early ones did not hold up. Car Complaints ranks the 2012 Sonata Hybrid as the worst year of that car. And the single most reported problem is transmission failure. Owners filed complaints describing a rebuild at 80,000 miles, and the exact same symptoms coming back by 120,000. To be fair to Hyundai, that is a decade-old design, and the current ones are a different animal. But when we are talking about a car that has to survive 300,000 miles, the count of parts that can wear out is not a small detail. Toyota takes this one, and it is not close. 2 checkpoints down, and neither has cost anybody real money yet. The next one is a part that only exists on one of these 3 brands, and when it goes, the noise it makes has convinced a lot of owners their car was finished. Number 7. The starter generator and the belt. Because Hyundai kept a conventional automatic, they also needed a way to start the gas engine and spin the accessories. That job goes to a hybrid starter generator, driven by a serpentine belt off the front of the engine. Toyota does not have one. Honda does not have one. The electric motors handle it internally on both. That extra part has a bearing in it, and the bearing wears. Owners report a grinding or chirping noise that changes with engine speed, a belt that chews itself up, and sometimes a car that takes several tries to start. The reports cluster all over the map, but I found owners chasing this at 86,000 miles and at 143,000 miles, which tells you it is a wear item and not a fluke. On a Toyota or a Honda, that failure mode does not exist, because that part does not exist. One less thing is one less thing. If you did not know that part existed until 30 seconds ago, hit the like button. That is the only thing that puts this in front of the next person shopping for a used hybrid this weekend. Number 6. The engine. Here is where the story turns. And if you own a newer Honda hybrid, I need you to hear this part properly. Everybody worries about the battery. Almost nobody worries about the head gasket. And right now, the most documented high-mileage problem across these 3 brands is not electrical at all. It is a Honda head gasket. Owners and independent Honda technicians have been reporting cylinder head and head gasket failures on the 2-liter hybrid engine in the 2023 through 2025 Accord, CR-V, and Civic, at mileages as low as 40,000 and as high as 95,000. The bills are real money. One owner of a 2020 CR-V hybrid got a repair estimate of about $4,200 after coolant loss and overheating. Another, a man with a complete dealer service history on his 2020 CR-V hybrid, was handed a bill of $5,300 for a blown head gasket at 73,000 miles, and Honda Corporate declined to help him out of goodwill because he was just outside the coverage window. Sit with that one for a second. Every oil change done on time at the dealer, and the answer was no. Over on the owners' forums, there is a man reporting 2 head gasket replacements on a 2023 CR-V in 130,000 miles. A head gasket is supposed to be a lifetime part. So what is going on? The suspected mechanism is thermal cycling. In a hybrid, the gas engine does not run continuously. It fires up, gets hot, shuts off, cools, and does it again over and over all day. A conventional car warms up once and stays warm. That constant heating and cooling stresses the seal between the head and the block, in a way the engineering did not fully account for. There is already a service campaign in Canada, and as of now, there is no safety recall in the United States. Honda knows. Toyota is not clean here either. The third-generation Prius, the 2010 through 2015 cars, carbons up its exhaust gas recirculation system, heat backs up into one cylinder, and the head gasket goes, usually after 150,000 miles. The fix is not exotic. Clean the recirculation cooler and the intake every 50 to 100,000 miles and you mostly avoid it. The people who lost engines are the people who never heard that sentence. And Hyundai. In October 2025, they recalled 2025 and 2026 Tucson and Santa Fe models because connecting rod bolts may not have been torqued correctly at the factory, which can loosen a rod, damage the engine, and leak oil onto hot parts. The remedy is not a bolt. Dealers replace the entire engine free. Credit where it is due, that is the right call, and it is a small number of vehicles. But it belongs on the list. Because the point of this whole checkpoint is the one nobody says out loud. At 300,000 miles, hybrids do not usually die of hybrid problems. They die of engine problems. Number 5. The cooling system. Every one of these cars has a second cooling loop that has nothing to do with keeping you warm. It exists to cool the inverter, the box that converts battery power into the alternating current your drive motor needs. That loop is circulated by a small electric pump. And that small electric pump is the single best example on this entire list of a cheap part that kills an expensive one. On the second generation Prius, the pump was a known enough weak point that Toyota recalled it. Those pumps fail somewhere between 100,000 and 180,000 miles, and the part with labor is roughly $200 to $600. Miss it, and the inverter cooks itself, and now you are looking at $3,000 and up. On the third generation, it is the engine electric water pump that goes, commonly between 80,000 and 150,000 miles. Here is your free tool, and it takes 10 seconds. With the car awake and in ready mode, open the hood and look into the inverter coolant reservoir. You should see the fluid churning. If it is dead still, the pump is not running, and you have a small window to fix a small problem. The other tell is visual. Toyota's coolant is pink, and when it weeps onto hot metal, the water boils off and leaves a chalky pink crust. If you ever see that crust, do not wash it off and forget about it. That is a leak announcing itself politely once. Number 4. The battery everybody is afraid of. Let me kill the myth first. The idea that a hybrid battery dies at 100,000 miles came from the early 2000s, and it is simply not what the data shows anymore. Toyota's numbers are the ones that change the conversation. Documented Prius taxi fleets have gone past 300,000 miles on the original pack, and some have been recorded between 300,000 and 400,000. One of the largest hybrid battery specialists in the country says they regularly see customers replacing original batteries at well over 250,000 miles. And the reason is not magic chemistry. It is restraint. Toyota deliberately never charges the pack full and never lets it run empty. It lives in a narrow middle band, and a battery that never sees either extreme ages slowly. That is engineering discipline, and it is worth respecting. Honda sits a step behind. The realistic range on Honda packs is 100,000 to 150,000 miles, with plenty of owners running past 200,000 in mild climates. There is a documented 2017 Accord hybrid case at 298,000 miles with minimal degradation, and the owner credited steady highway driving. That is not nothing. Highway miles are the easy miles for a battery. Hyundai is the honest unknown. Most of their hybrid lineup arrived after 2016, so the long-term picture past 150,000 miles simply does not exist yet in any meaningful volume. Early signs are fine. I am not going to pretend fine is the same as proven, and I am not going to pretend unknown is the same as bad. What actually kills a hybrid battery is heat, and this is universal. In lab testing, Packs held at around 130 degrees lost about 70% of their capacity after only 100 cycles. Which brings me to the cheapest maintenance item nobody performs. Most hybrid packs are cooled by a fan that pulls cabin air through a small filter, usually hiding behind a rear seat panel or in the trunk. When that filter clogs with dust and dog hair, the pack runs hot for years. Toyota says, inspect it every 30,000 miles. If you are driving a hybrid past 100,000 miles and you have never touched that filter, that is your weekend. And it is the highest return on investment on this entire list. You are 3 checkpoints from the end. And the last 3 are not about parts at all. They are about what happens when you need one. Number 3. What the repair costs and how long you wait for it. This is the checkpoint that separates the 3 brands more than any piece of engineering, and almost nobody talks about it before they buy. Go to a Toyota dealer with a dead pack and you will hear $4,000 to $6,000. Installed, sometimes more on the bigger models. But you do not have to go to a Toyota dealer. And that is the entire point. The independent hybrid battery industry in this country was practically built on Toyota. A Prius pack from a national specialist runs roughly $1,300 to $2,250 installed. A Camry pack, about $1,600 to $3,000. A Highlander, about $2,000 to $3,000. There are shops with dozens of locations that will come to your driveway and do it. Honda has a decent aftermarket too. A remanufactured Civic Hybrid pack sits around $1,400, and an Accord Hybrid replacement generally lands between $2,000 and $3,500 plus labor. Hyundai is where it gets uncomfortable. Go on the Hyundai owner forums, and you will find people asking this exact question and getting the same answer from other owners. There are plenty of options out there for Toyota, Honda, and most domestic models. And when it comes to Hyundai and Kia, it is slim. Specialists do serve the Sonata Hybrid and the Elantra Hybrid, so it is not a desert. But thin supply shows up as time. There is a documented case of a 2015 Sonata Hybrid owner waiting more than 9 months for a battery and going through 3 different loaner cars. For comparison, a Honda Clarity owner reported about 4 months. 9 months is not a repair. That is a season of your life. So here is the tool, and use it before you ever need it. Whatever you drive, find the part number for your battery pack today and call 2 independent hybrid specialists to ask what they charge and whether they stock it. 5 minutes now. It is the difference between a Tuesday and a 9-month argument. Number 2. The warranty. Read the way a second owner has to read it. Toyota covers the hybrid battery for 10 years or 150,000 miles, and the other hybrid components for 8 years or 100,000. Honda covers the battery for 8 years or 100,000 miles, extended to 10 years or 150,000 in California and the states that follow California rules. Hyundai covers the high-voltage battery for 10 years or 100,000 miles, and unlike some of their other coverage, that one stays with the car when it is sold. Now, the fine print, because 2 things get advertised loosely. First, Hyundai's famous 10-year powertrain warranty drops to 5 years or 60,000 miles the moment you are not the original buyer. Second, the lifetime hybrid battery warranty you have heard about was real, but it applied to 2012 through 2016 Sonata hybrids, only for the original retail owner, and it specifically excluded any car used commercially. If you bought that car secondhand, you never had it. And here is the honest conclusion, which is not what the brochures want. At 300,000 miles, every warranty on this list has been expired for years. All 3. So the warranty is not what carries a hybrid to 300,000 miles. It never was. What carries it is whether somebody, somewhere, will sell you the part on a Wednesday at a price that makes sense. That is checkpoint 3. And it is why checkpoint 3 matters more than this one. Number 1. The odds. Everything else on this list was a component. This is the scoreboard. That iSeeCars study I opened with. The average hybrid has a 9.6% chance of reaching 250,000 miles. The Toyota Highlander hybrid came in at 31%, more than 3 times the hybrid average. The Lexus RX hybrid, 17%. The Prius, 12.2%. The Camry hybrid, 10.2%. The Avalon hybrid, 9.7%. The RAV4 hybrid actually landed just under average at 7.9%. Across all vehicles, not just hybrids, Toyota as a brand posts a 17.8% chance of hitting 250,000 miles, against an industry average of 4.8%. Consumer Reports lines up with it from a completely different direction. In their most recent brand reliability ranking, Toyota scores 66 out of 100, Honda 59, and Hyundai 48. They also found hybrids as a category have about 15% fewer problems than regular gas cars, which is worth remembering the next time somebody tells you hybrids are complicated. And out of roughly 30 hybrids with enough data, only 3 scored below average for predicted reliability. One of the 3 was the Hyundai Sonata hybrid. Now let me be fair, because this is where fairness costs something. The same Consumer Reports data gives top reliability scores to the Hyundai Elantra hybrid and names the Kia Sorento hybrid, which shares Hyundai's engineering. The most reliable 3-row SUV they survey. On running costs, RepairPal puts the Prius at $408 a year and the Sonata at $458, against $526 for the average midsize car and $652 across all vehicles. Both of those are good numbers. Hyundai in 2026 is not the Hyundai of 2012, and anyone who tells you otherwise stopped reading a decade ago. But you asked about 300,000 miles. And at 300,000 miles, Toyota has the proof, Honda has the reputation with an asterisk on those head gaskets, and Hyundai has a promising car with a thin parts network and not enough cars that old yet to say. If any of this saved you a phone call, subscribing takes a second. And next week, I am going through the used hybrids that are genuinely worth buying at 150,000 miles. Now, the thing I promised you. Is it worth fixing? Here is the arithmetic. Done the way a shop owner does it on the back of an invoice. Take a 2010 Prius at 178,000 miles. As it sits, dead pack, it is worth about $3,100. With a healthy battery, it is worth about $6,800. A reconditioned pack costs about $1,600 installed. Do that with me. You spend $1,600 to gain $3,700 in value. That is a net of about $2,100 in your pocket, and you keep the car. You fix it. Now a 2009 Civic Hybrid at 195,000 miles. As it sits, about $1,200. Fixed, about $3,400. The cheapest honest replacement is around $2,100, and the transmission is already showing wear. You spend $2,100 to gain $2,200, and you still own an old car with a tired gearbox. You sell it. That is the rule, and it works on any hybrid on any lot. Value fixed minus value broken minus the real quote. If that number is not comfortably positive, the car is telling you something, and you should listen. And now, the pattern. The thing all 3 of these companies quietly share. Go back down that list with me. The seized caliper pins, the 12-volt battery, the inverter coolant pump, the engine water pump, the serpentine belt on the starter generator, the head gasket. Every single expensive failure we talked about today happened to an ordinary mechanical part that has existed for 100 years. The hybrid parts, the ones everybody is afraid of, the battery and the electric motors and the planetary gear set, are the components that keep going. That is the truth nobody puts in the brochure. We were all sold the fear of the battery. And the battery turned out to be the most durable thing in the car. Meanwhile, the ordinary parts around it are being asked to do something new. That head gasket is not failing because Honda forgot how to build engines. It is failing because a hybrid engine starts and stops all day long, and heating and cooling a piece of metal thousands of extra times is a form of work nobody was measuring in 1995. I do not think there is a scheme here. There is no room full of executives deciding to sell you a water pump in 10 years. There is just this. Nobody has ever put a coolant pump in a television commercial. The money and the marketing follow the battery. So the engineering attention and the warranty coverage and the aftermarket all followed the battery too. And the plain parts got quietly left to fend for themselves. That is not malice. That is incentive. And incentive does not need a meeting. So the whole game changes shape. You do not buy the hybrid with the best battery. You buy the one with the fewest ordinary parts doing extraordinary work, and the deepest network of people willing to sell you those parts cheaply when they wear out. On today's evidence, that is Toyota, and I would buy one tomorrow and drive it for 15 years without losing a night's sleep. Here is what I would like from you, because you people are the best data set I have got. Tell me the badge, the model year, the mileage on it right now, and the single biggest repair bill it has ever handed you. Not opinions, numbers. And say what part of the country you drive it in, because heat changes everything on a hybrid, and the men in Arizona are living a different video than the men in Michigan. Take care of the small parts. The big ones are already fine.